Good evening, and welcome to Sacred Heart Church Southbury online for our evening reflection. It is good to be together. Faithful followers and first-time viewers, welcome. We started these reflections as a way to reflect on our faith and the pandemic. It seems, in a sense, that the pandemic has become the new normal, and the rise of racial injustice and inequality has captured our attention. For me, the recent celebration in our Catholic tradition of the Feast of the Holy Trinity has a lot of light to shed on this time. For many of us who grew up Catholic before Vatican II, this feast boggled the mind. I am sure some of us of a certain age can remember all too well how we, especially as children, struggled with the idea of the Trinity, three persons in one God. What? And it really didn't get much better as we matured. This concept of three persons in one God defies our understanding. Our analyzing always leaves us short. How could it not? Our minds are finite. Our God is infinite. Analyzing God's image or struggling with concepts does not necessarily give us what we really hunger for, an experience of God's presence right here, right now, in our lives. I want to know that God is real. Thomas Aquinas, the 13th century Dominican preacher, spent his life writing the philosophical treatise, the Summa Theologica. This 22-volume unfinished work presents all Christian theology known at that time and describes the relationship between God and humanity. Towards the end of his life, Aquinas said, "The end of all my labors has come. All that I have written appears to me as much straw after the things that have been revealed to me. Love takes up where knowledge leaves off." And that's one truth that we know about God from our scriptures. God is love. And a communion of love is what we celebrate as the Trinity. One cannot love alone. One needs another to share that love and from whom to receive that love. We know this God of love pours forth love upon creation, and life springs forth in all its varied and colorful forms. It is love that leads a people through the slavery of Egypt to the freedom of the Promised Land. It is love that surrenders on a cross and overcomes sin and death. It is love that lives in us now as the Spirit of God's wisdom and truth. Love is the only way to understand the Trinity as much as anyone can understand love. There are some spiritual writers today that see the love between the three persons of the Trinity as an explosion of love amongst themselves and out to the universe, to us. Such powerful love cannot be contained. In the book of Exodus, we see some of the qualities of life inherent in this God of love. We see the God of Israel described as merciful and gracious, slow to anger and rich in kindness and fidelity. This description points to a relational God, one who reaches out to us in our need. That is a God who cares for us, for all people, and invites us to do the same for one another. How have you experienced God in this way? Kind and merciful, slow to anger, forgiving. What were the times in your life that you knew God's mercy, kindness, and faithfulness? What were the times you shared God's mercy, kindness, faithfulness with others? This reading shows us not only a face of God, but the heart of God. This God is invitational, calling us to enter the mystery of this communion of God in the quiet of our hearts, in spiritual readings that we do, in the reflection on our days, in the questions that we have, in the joys and tragedies that visit us each day. The author, Paula Darcy, reminds us that God comes to us disguised as our lives. We really do not need to look elsewhere if we desire to find God. It is in the daily experiences with one another that we know love. So how do we become the active, living presence of God in our world? Mother Teresa would say, we don't need to go to Calcutta. We need to see it and respond to the needs right in front of us, and to do so with love. Where in my life today am I in need of mercy, compassion, forgiveness? In other words, in need of God. Ask God to show you the God who is already showering you with love. Talk it over with God or write it down. Write a letter to God. Let out all your feelings and concerns, joys and gratitude. See what happens. Then think of someone in your life today, or someone you see on the news or on the national or world stage who needs your compassion, your mercy, your forgiveness, your voice. How can you offer that care to that person or that group of peoples? A relationship with God is always up close and personal. It begins with me and God. It grows to include all those God loves, which of course is everybody. May you know deep in your heart the love of God that dwells in you. May you recognize the love of that same God dwelling in all those you meet this day, in person, on the news, from your memory. May you discover day by day that God, a communion of love, has made a home in everyone. May you take some time now to reflect on this reflection and allow the words and phrases to inspire you, to challenge you, to move you forward, to truly be a communion of love. Good night, and God bless.